Welcome back to episode 163 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. And Kyle, let me say this to you right off the bat. According to everybody who's not a Dodger fan, apparently there's no reason to play the season in 2026 because the Dodgers continue to ruin baseball. They signed Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, Bichette is going to be the majority, and of course, we're going to touch upon the CBA and this lockout dooming again. But before we get into everything, same cast of characters as always, myself and Kyle. How are you doing today? You're very colorful today. You're in a red sweatshirt. Is that Giants red, or is that
Oh,
just the
absolutely.
regular? There we go.
Come on now.
Any
That's the New
specific
York
reason
Giants.
why you're wearing the Giants sweatshirt?
Um, I've been wearing this for a few days now, man. I have to say. So to answer your question real quick, I'm doing good and bad, right? So I'm in a mix right now. I'm still on the high of my New York Giants signing or hiring, I should say, John Harbaugh as our head coach. He will be the next head coach of the New York Football Giants,
The
and
Savior's
I'm
here.
pumped. Oh my God, I'm pumped. I am pumped. The Giants knew who they wanted and they went out and they got their guy. And especially with, if anybody's interested in football or watch football, this coaching carousel, man, it's nuts this year. It really is. And I'm glad that the Giants, for once, got went out there and got the top dog on the free agent market, man. Totally hyped about John Harbaugh coming to New York. There's a lot of work to do yet. I'm not saying that this is it, but this is the best day for a New York Giants fan since 2011, dude. This is the last time we won that Super Bowl. There's been a lot of shit thrown our way, and I hope and pray that this is finally the change that this franchise needs. Um, to answer the rest of that question, my identity's been stolen as of this morning. So if the person who stole my identity is watching, fuck you. You made my life a living hell this morning. But anyway, I'm doing I'm doing all right, man. It is what it is, and you kind of have to look at the positives and things. So that's my answer. How are you doing, man?
So this is what really happened. Kyle was dabbling in the cryptocurrency again this morning, and you know somebody promised him something, and then he fell for the bait. But no, just
Absolutely.
kidding. What Kyle just said is a real story. Hopefully everything's okay. You got it under control, and we both go to the same school, and we both
Yeah,
got the same exact letter over the weekend, and I think we were both this close to throwing it out.
yeah.
I'm glad we both kept it because now after we get off of here, I might have to do a quick search for my identity as well, just to make sure it's still intact and make sure it's not gone.
I'm telling you, man. You go to school to try to better yourself. You're in college getting your bachelor's, the whole nine yards, and then bam, you get hit with a fucking data leak. And now we're both at fucking risk. And they got to me. Hope and pray that they don't get to you. But unfortunately, that's just how it is, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm doing well. Dodgers again go out and get the big fish Thursday night. I'm telling you, man, like other people do drugs or drink to get that satisfaction. I don't need that. When I saw that notification from Jeff Passan pop up like at seven something local time here in LA that Kyle Tucker has signed with the LA Dodgers, I was like, well, first of all, I think I started laughing to be honest with you, just because I didn't think that Kyle Tucker was going to come to my baseball team. And we're going to get into this in just a moment. It's kind of ironic that the two players I did not want on this Dodger team this offseason ended up signing with my team. I didn't want Edwin Diaz and I didn't want Kyle Tucker. And the Dodgers ended up getting both of them. But um, just, I couldn't believe it. I really thought that he was going to go to the Mets. And when I saw that notification pop up, I was like, oh my goodness. Let me go check these comments now. So, um, of course, they were what you all expected, including in our comments section. Thank you very much. But um, doing well, We're getting closer to baseball. We're over the halfway point of the off season, approaching 60%. I think I kind of updated it today. I was looking at. I think we're at like 57% done. So keep it moving. We're almost there. We're almost there to spring training. I saw the schedule last week for when teams are gonna report and have their first full workouts. Kind of got me a little excited. I'm like, all right, cool. We got some baseball coming. Like, we're almost there. We just got to get through this damn last four football games here, and we're gonna be okay. But um, we'll start shifting over. Just mentioned it. I guess we'll touch on Kyle Tucker first because he signed first, and he was more of the controversial um, signee, I guess you can say. Signed a 4 year, $240 million contract with the LA Dodgers, and immediately once Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers, it was the same stuff you've been hearing from other teams of other fans for the last 2 years. How can the Dodgers do this? They're ruining baseball. They're buying championships. We need a lockout. We need a salary cap and a salary floor or whatever. Um, I'll let Kyle go first. Everybody knows how I feel about it, but not gonna lie to you. I think I'm starting to kind of shift back towards the middle a little bit because again, I was not expecting the Dodgers to be in on Kyle Tucker. Um, now this is no fault to the Dodgers because they were not overly aggressive. You heard the term the Dodgers were lurking. You heard that term a lot in the last couple of weeks. It was the Blue Jays and the Mets fighting over different contracts. The Blue Jays wanted to give Kyle Tucker, you know, more years to make up for all that big money that they were going to send out, while the Mets wanted to give him less years with a high AAV. And you just had the Dodgers just sitting there like, when you guys tire each other out, the Dodgers are just going to swoop in and, you know, make a better offer than what the Mets did. But um, your reaction, Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers?
Oh man, it's it's a little bit of both, right? So I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised. Okay, because we have touched on this topic the last few weeks. We've been talking about the CBA. We've been talking about all the free agents on the market, things like that. The fact is that the Dodgers, everybody knows what the Dodgers are going to do, right? And we talked, you had thought it was Bo Bichette, right? If
I was
these
wrong.
teams keep playing with their food and things like that, the Dodgers are going to be there, regardless of who it is, regardless of how much money the Dodgers are going to be there. And it seems like the Dodgers really weren't in on Tucker at the very beginning of the season or the offseason. We heard rumblings, but you always connect the Dodgers to these big free agents. However, the problem is that none of these other teams went in and got Kyle Tucker soon enough. Nobody, like, this is the thing. Anybody can sign Kyle Tucker. Anybody. And if you were that serious about getting Kyle Tucker on your team and not being pissed off that the Dodgers went and got him, the Mets weren't obviously that interested, neither were the Blue Jays. So you want to sit here and say, like, oh, Kyle Tucker, he's not that good. He had an off year, this, that, or the other. But then you think he's Barry Bonds in 2001 when he signs with the Dodgers. That, I mean,
Can't have
keep a
it both
story,
ways.
right? You can't have it both ways. Keep a story and stick to it. Um, I'm not gonna lie. It's I am at that middle spot already. But I don't fault the Dodgers, right? That's what I want to make clear. The Dodgers are winning championships and they're doing what it takes to win. There's nothing in the rule book that says they can't do this, okay? And there's also nothing in the rule book that says the Yankees can't do it. There's nothing in the rule book that says the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Phillies, the Royals, the Rays, whoever the fuck you want to say, there's nothing in there that says they can't do this. So everybody wants to get mad at the Dodgers for doing it, but your team could do it too. And I don't want to hear that, oh, the Tampa Bay Rays can't afford as much as what the Dodgers can. Yes, they're in a smaller market, but you have to remember at the last CBA, all the teams that pay over the luxury tax, that money gets allocated to the smaller market teams that don't make as much. They try to make it an even playing field. Now, in my eyes, it's not enough personally, but if you're a $1 billion owner, you can spend. I'm sorry. That's the way I look at it. There's no reason why these clubs should be having $76 million payrolls. As of right now, I think the Cardinals are in the 40 million they're on the hook for next year. That's not Kyle Tucker alone is making more than that. Than the entire Cardinals roster. That's not I'm sorry. Everybody wants to say it's not competitive enough. Everybody wants to say that nobody can beat the Dodgers. Well, your owner doesn't want to spend the damn money to make it happen. And there's two other ways that I want to go real quick. Number one, um, how I touched on the fact that I am in the middle ground now. When Kyle Tucker signed, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, I'm like, come on, man. Like, this is going to create so many issues, this, that, and the other. But then I have to remind myself that it's not the Dodgers' fault. Um, I have to keep saying to myself, this is something is being exploited in Major League Baseball, and there's only one team who's taking advantage of it. So, my eyes, right, in the next CBA, okay, because we all knew that this is where it was going to go. In the next CBA, what needs to happen, in my eyes, there's no reason why Shohei Ohtani's salary should only be $2 million. I'm sorry. I think the Dodgers should be on the hook for more than that. Um, it was an exploit, and it was something that the Dodgers took advantage of. Again, there's no, you know, bad blood against the Dodgers here, but there needs to be something done about that. There's no reason why Shohei Ohtani should only be on the hook for $2 million. Now, I understand the luxury tax, things like that come into play. But Shohei, if his annual average is close to 70 million, something's got to be done about these deferrals, right? I don't know if it's okay, you can only defer up to X amount of dollars every single year because the Dodgers right now have about $1 billion worth of deferrals that they're going to have to pay later on down the road. But in my eyes, Shohei Ohtani's salary, now it goes for everybody on the Dodgers, but I'm taking Ohtani as an example. $2 million should not be the only thing that they're on the hook for. I'm sorry. Not for that year. There needs to be more deferral penalties and things like that in place, in my opinion. And then second, there needs to be a higher luxury tax. You know, basically penalizing these teams who want to go over that. Being able to do that, it hopefully will scare some of these teams to keeping it more competitive. It seems to be that the Dodgers are not going to change that, which, hey, that's up to them. But guess what? You're going to have to pay the price of what this luxury tax is now going to be. And then whatever that luxury tax number is at the end of the year needs to go into the bottom teams that didn't make enough revenue. Because we all know the Yankees and the Dodgers are going to make more than anybody in this league. Anybody. We know that. But these luxury tax penalties need to be a little bit higher to even the playing field. And then to even it even more, there needs to be a salary floor. Because everybody wants to bitch and complain about the Dodgers, but I don't hear anybody talking shit about the Cardinals or talking shit about the Rays, who have a low ass payroll every single year. And then just like the Rays and the Pirates, their fans, they want to say, well, Paul Skeens is going to be a Dodger in a few years. Well, guess what? Don't make it that way. This owner needs to pay their guys and keep them in the uniform that they need to be in my opinion, because then Paul Skeens won't go to the Dodgers. He won't go to the Yankees, in my opinion. Um, and then second, which was my other point to this, maybe at the end of the day, Kyle Tucker just wanted to go to the Dodgers. That's what it comes down to, right? He had a very fair offer on the table from the Blue Jays. He had a very fair offer on the table from the Mets, from what I heard. If he wanted to go to the Dodgers, there was nothing stopping them. That's what it comes down to. It's just like Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz said he wanted to play for a contender. Well, what better team than the Dodgers? That's not the Dodgers' fault. The Dodgers have created a winning culture out in Los Angeles and every year prove that they are going to be there in the end. So who wouldn't want to play for that? Yeah, don't get me wrong, $60 million a year is nice. But at the same time, the Dodgers have created this winning culture out there, and players get behind that. Players want to play for a coach like that. Players want to play for a franchise like that. So how can we fault the Dodgers for creating something like that? We can't. Because the Dodgers are a premier franchise that everybody is wanting to be, but nobody wants to do what it takes to be the Dodgers. That's my problem. but I am understanding where these other fan bases are coming from now, because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, yeah, it does seem a little unfair, but then I look at the details of it and I'm thinking to myself, well, no one stopped anybody else from going out and signing all the free agents. There were some big names on this market this year. Alex Bregman, he just went to the Cubs. We'll talk about Bo Bichette. But if you want this player, you're gonna have to pay the price. I'm sorry. That's just the way today's game goes. And if you're not willing to do it, guess who is? It's the team that you're bitching about and complaining about who is going to pay that price. So, I mean, even like a Ketel Marte was on the market for all offseason. You could have traded for him. I'm sorry. Like everybody wants to sit here and complain about the Dodgers and what they're doing, but I go back to the fact that you can do it too. And everybody who always says to me, actually, I got into an argument with my cousin over the weekend about this. He's a big Cardinals fan, and he wants a salary cap implemented in Major League Baseball. And actually, Mikey, formerly with ATD, he also now wants a salary cap in baseball, which I think is crazy, given he's a Phillies fan. But the way I look at this is everybody wants to say, well, the Cardinals can't go out and pay Kyle Tucker $60 million a year. Well, they could. You got an owner who's worth that kind of money, and you make enough of a revenue to be able to do something like that. But instead, the Cardinals are rebuilding, which I think is the good move for the Cardinals. Don't get me wrong. But the way I look at it is if you have an owner who can afford to run a major league franchise, you have an owner who can spend. It's not our fault that the Dodgers that I'm sorry, that these small market teams don't want to spend that kind of money. But you have to move with the game and how it's going. Um, One final thought here, and then I'll pass it over to you, Mello. My final thought here for anybody who wants to implement a salary cap into baseball. Baseball has never had a salary cap. Never. And it's worked. We have never, we, in the last 25 years, we've had one repeat champion, and it was this year. This year. And then obviously taking away the 90s Yankees. I know, fresh coming from me. I get it. But I wasn't alive for that, so you can't hold it against me. Um, Taking away them, again, there was a competitiveness in the sport of baseball, and we never had a salary cap. Why not just tweak the things that need to be tweaked instead of implementing and changing the game as we know it? This game has changed so much over the years already, and if you're fed up with the Dodgers and what they're doing, one of two things. Number one, get behind what the Dodgers are doing and you start implementing a winning culture like that. Then you won't have that problem in your clubhouse. And number two, like I said, tweaking the luxury tax, adding a salary floor, and doing something about these deferrals, because I do understand where people are coming from with the deferrals. I think that's a little crazy. Um, I'm not saying you can't defer money, but I am saying going against the payroll and what the Dodgers have to spend every single year and what goes into the luxury tax numbers and the logistics of things. Yeah, I do think that needs to be changed. But not a salary cap. I'm not for a salary cap because why are we faulting the Dodgers for wanting to win? I don't understand that. I will never get behind that. That's not a thing that I understand. So for me, the Dodgers have built a winning franchise and a winning culture. I understand what they're doing. Maybe the logistics side of things needs to be changed a little bit, in my opinion. This is 100% my opinion. But that doesn't mean we need to fully, no. To me, we don't need to fully reprimand them for what they're trying to do, which is win championships. I'm sorry, that's the whole point of why we are baseball fans. That is the whole point of sports in general, is to win as many championships as you can. So I'm not going to sit here and fault the Dodgers for it, but I am going to say my final statement. I am going to say I do think things need to be tweaked and changed a little bit in next year's CBA.
Yeah, and you kind of very well said, by the way. Um, this is the thing that I always keep going back to when people mention, "Oh, the Dodgers, they're buying championships. Look at their big payroll." Even with everything that they have done the last couple seasons, going back to I'd say when they signed Shohei Ohtani in the winter of 2023, the Dodgers were on the brink of elimination. The last 2 years, and ended up winning the World Series. They were down 2-1 to San Diego. In San Diego, had to win an elimination game in Petco Park. Came back home, won Game 5. They had to go to Toronto, down 3-2 in the World Series. And of course, we saw how Game 6 ended. And in Game 7, if any one of those things go the Blue Jays' way, just one of them, Blue Jays win the World Series. And this whole conversation is completely different. So I don't like when baseball fans, well, I don't think they're baseball fans. I just think they hate the Dodgers. But I don't like it when people go on Twitter and social media and say, "Oh, well, what's the point of even watching in 2026? I'm not gonna watch anymore. I'll see you." There are people, and again, I've said this before. What the Dodgers have done, it has not only made the Dodgers successful, but it has made some of these baseball fans just crazy. Like the Dodgers, you're so bothered by what they're doing. It has completely made you think irrational. There are fans of other teams that are actively rooting for a lockout next year.
Yeah.
Like that's insane to me. Like to me that's going overboard. But we we still got to play the games, man. Now, I know, you're probably going to say, well, easy for you to say. You're a Dodger fan. Look at the team you're going to roll out in 2026. It's easy for you to come on here and say, yeah, well, let's just play the games. It's true, man. Like, let's play the games. There's no guarantee that the Dodgers are going to win it again in 2026. Sure, spending a bunch of money and getting guys like Kyle Tucker, Teoscar Hernandez, guys like that in free agency, it helps a lot. But just look at these last 2 years, man. Like the Dodgers, it's no guarantee that they're gonna win once the postseason comes around. All it takes is for a hot team or a team playing well to beat them. And again, we saw it in last October. The Phillies probably should have beaten the Dodgers if they would have just hit just a little bit more. Probably would have beaten the Dodgers. Blue Jays, if one of those things would have went their way in Game 7, they win. And even before all of this, before Shohei got here, the Dodgers still had a very high payroll. It's not what it was now, but the Dodgers were getting bounced in the first round by the Padres and the Diamondbacks. And the whole conversation was completely different. It was like, oh, well, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. The Dodgers are going to lose in the first round anyways. It's amazing how quickly the narrative changes. It went from, you're just going to choke in the first round, doesn't matter how much money you spend, to, oh, well, the Dodgers are ruining baseball. What's the point of watching this sport? I don't want to watch it. Please, let's have a lockout. So, for all you fans out there that are not going to watch this year, you're full of shit. I'll see you on opening day, March 26th. But what the Dodgers are doing, to me, it's still good for baseball. Like, they have a winning culture. It's not just spending the money. Like, they still have to draft well. And remind you, they still have the top farm system, according to GMs and other, people in baseball. They're doing all this without having, like, the top pick every single season. Like, they're, because they've been playing, because they're making the postseason every year, like, they're not picking high in these drafts. They make smart trades. Have all of them work? Of course not. The Yordan Alvarez trade, all the Astro fans were throwing that in my face over the weekend on Twitter, but you still, outside of spending money, and again, it helps when you have the Guggenheim Group to help, make the product better on the field through free agency. But you still got to draft well. You still got to make trades. And the Dodgers have gotten lucky outside of a couple, bad eggs like Trevor Bauer and stuff like that. They have mostly hit on their big contracts that they've given out. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani is probably the biggest success signing they've had in their franchise history. But again, there's no guarantee that these contracts are going to work out. But again, to me, it's still good what the Dodgers are doing. They're the clear villain in this sport. And to me, that's very appealing. That would be very appealing to me. Like, all right, you have this one team that is clearly above everybody else, and it's up to the other 29 teams to try and take them down. And to me, I think that's interesting. You know, uh, we heard a lot of people complaining about well, who wants to watch the Diamondbacks and the Rangers in the World Series? That was the big complaint we heard a couple years ago. And look at these last
Mhm.
two World Series. We've had Dodgers Yankees, we've had Dodgers Blue Jays. And to me, what the Dodgers are doing is good. And don't blame the Dodgers. Blame Major League Baseball for a broken system. The Dodgers are
Yep.
just playing by the rules. They're just playing by the current CBA. And for people that want and listen, I agree with you. I think there should be a cap on the deferrals, but don't get rid of it completely. I saw a lot of that from baseball fans on Twitter and on social media. We should just ban deferrals. Hold on a second. There's a lot of you that your baseball club has players that are not even playing on your team anymore that
Yep.
have deferrals in there. We have a whole day on July 1st called Bobby Bonilla Day.
I'm sure we'll have more of those in the future.
Oh
I can
yeah, well
guarantee.
Shohei's probably gonna take over now, but um, yeah. Listen, I mentioned it to you. I didn't think we were gonna get Kyle Tucker. I didn't want Kyle Tucker, but I'll kind of shift more into the Dodgers and what it means for them. I actually like the contract. I know 60 million a year is a lot. I understand that, but I like to opt out after year two. You know, if he has a monster couple years here, and if he helps us win, after year two, he can opt out, get a bigger contract, and we could say, hey, thanks. You got us another ring. We appreciate it. Um, and you talk about murderer's row in the Dodgers lineup. It is insane the lineup that they're going to roll out in 2026. Shohei, Mookie, Freddie is your top three. You probably in that order. And then you got Will Smith. You're probably going to have Kyle Tucker somewhere in the 5 hole, if not the 4 hole, depending on matchups. And that doesn't even. And then you have Muncy, Tommy Edman, Andy Pajes. It's crazy the lineup that this team is going to roll out in 2026. And I understand. And there was a lot of Cub fans who were like, oh, well, he's kind of overrated. He's not that great. All of a sudden, he puts on a Dodger uniform. He's not that good anymore. It's crazy how it changes. Same thing with Blue Jays fans. Oh, well, I never really wanted him anyways. I wasn't that big on him. All of a sudden, shit changes. But um, to me, this just makes the Dodger lineup so much deeper, and it solves the outfield problem that I had with this team. Now you can shift Teoscar Hernandez back into left field. Kyle Tucker goes into right field. We have a permanent solution now in the outfield. Um, you can put Tommy Edman back at second base, or you can platoon him with Pajes in center field. There's so many different combinations you can do now, and the Dodgers, and I mentioned this last week, outside of a couple bringing back a couple guys on arbitration, picking up their options, or you know bringing back on arbitration deals. The Dodgers had a quiet off season, but they addressed the two needs that they needed this off season: somebody to close, or just get another good bullpen piece. They got that with Edwin Diaz, and they got another outfield bat. And I mentioned this to you, probably the first episode we did, um, starting free agency back in November. I wanted to see what the Dodgers were going to do with this lineup. I wanted to see what this Dodger team was going to do with the outfield, because there was clearly some holes. And outside, I know they won the World Series, and they did enough to get by, but the biggest weakness on their team was the outfield. And they just addressed that with the two biggest signings of the MLB free agency. And then, again, it's kind of crazy. I didn't think we were going to get Kyle Tucker. I really didn't. I thought he was for sure going to be a Met. I'll take it, though. And if Kyle Tucker can just stay healthy, look out. Look out. Because, man, it's... I'm so looking forward to seeing this, man. I want to see what this lineup looks like, man. But again, I understand why everybody's up in arms. I get all of that, but what the Dodgers are doing is good for baseball, man. Like the Dodgers are the clear villain of the sport, and they're gonna draw the most attention, winning or losing. If the Dodgers win, it's gonna be, see, this is why we should have a salary cap. Or see, this is not fair. If the Dodgers lose, it's like, oh, look at the Dodgers. Maybe they're not this good of a team anymore. But yeah, welcome to LA, Kyle Tucker, and I look forward to seeing many home runs hit into the right field pavilion at Dodger Stadium this summer.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you listen. If I asked this as a genuine question too. If let's say it wasn't the Dodgers, okay? Let's say you're a fan of any other team, any other of the 29 franchises, would you be complaining?
Probably
Or is
not.
it because or is it because it's not your franchise, it's not your favorite team who's doing this? Listen, it doesn't change the narrative in baseball, right? It's you put a winning product on the field and you're going to attract a lot more than just your fans, than just other players. You create just something that is just like it's hated by everybody but it's loved by your own, right? And that's what the Dodgers have done. And I will say this kind of just to put a bow on everything. Um last year's World Series, last October, if it wasn't for Andy Pajes and Miguel Rojas, I don't know if the Dodgers would have won that World Series. And if IKF
They're not
would
making
have
much
gotten
either, by the way.
no, if IKF would have gotten a little bit of a bigger jump, the Blue Jays would be World Series champions right now. It wasn't Shohei Ohtani. It wasn't Freddie Freeman. It wasn't Will Smith. It wasn't Teoscar Hernandez. It wasn't Mookie Betts. It was Miguel Rojas and Andy Pajes, two players who are probably making some of the least amount of money on the Dodgers payroll. Anything can happen. It's not a guarantee that the Dodgers win the World Series next year. It's not.
The Dodgers didn't even win 100 games last year.
No.
And we were
Nope.
talking like, oh, this team's going to win easily, probably over 105 games. They didn't even get to 100 win. They didn't even have the best record in baseball last year.
No. They didn't. And I'll say this, okay? Anybody can do this, by the way. Before I say this and put this out there, anybody can do this. And I don't think it's going to take much, in my personal opinion. Do not be shocked if Freddie Peralta is a Dodger by the end of this offseason. I'm telling you right now. Any of these teams can go out and trade for him as we speak. Anybody. I know my Yankees have been connected to him for last couple of months, honestly. Even before free agency opened, the Yankees were connected to Freddie Peralta. Don't be shocked if he's a Dodger. The Dodgers pitching rotation is very okay. It's very easily injured, I guess is the best way I can put it. They are injury prone. There we go. Tyler Glasnow and okay, I'll use Tyler Glasnow as the example. Even when he was in Tampa Bay, everybody wants to sit here and say, "Oh, Tyler Glasnow when he was a Ray, whatever, blah blah blah." But the moment he goes to the Dodgers, it's a problem. But then he gets injured basically all of last season, and now all of a sudden he's just Tyler Glasnow again, this, that, and the other. Well, now the Dodgers are trying to prevent that from happening again. So if they want to go get Freddie Peralta, why is that a big deal? Because they're trying to create insurance in case Tyler Glasnow or anybody else goes down. Yamamoto, he's another one. He could go down at any moment.
Pitched a
And
lot of
listen,
innings last year,
that's what
especially
I'm
in that
saying.
World Series.
Any of these guys in that pitching staff could go down very quickly. And the Dodgers are trying to create insurance by getting a Freddie Peralta. Why is that a problem? That's what all of our fan bases want our teams to do. Every one of us. The Yankees are opening up the season with their top three starters. Sorry, two out of their top three starters on the IL until at least June. And their fifth and sixth starters are also on the IL. I would love to go get a Freddie Peralta. Is everybody going to be up in arms when the Yankees go get Peralta? Or if the Mets go get him? Or if the Red Sox? I don't understand what people's problem is with the Dodgers trying to better their team. I just don't understand that. The logistics side of things, yeah, absolutely. I do think needs to be controlled. But that whole deferral thing, no, there's just a cap. There's not getting rid of them all completely. You can't do that. That's not, I'm sorry, that's not a thing that you can do. Any team could have been paying guys deferrals for the last however many years. The Dodgers just started doing it, and now it's all of a sudden a problem. Just like a few years ago, anybody could have went out and got Mookie Betts from the Red Sox, except for the Yankees. The Yankees they wouldn't have allowed. But I'm the only one who can make that argument. But anybody else could have went out and gotten Mookie Betts from Boston, and they gave him top prospects. It's not the Dodgers' fault that those prospects didn't work out.
No.
Sorry, like that's again, I'm putting a bow on it. That's about it. But that's the way I look at it. As far as Kyle Tucker goes, because I haven't talked about that at all.
Dodgers in 5.
Yeah, pretty much. He's coming off a 266 season, batting average 377 OBP, 464 slugging. He hit 22 home runs and 73 RBIs. If everybody who's complaining about the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker, that was one of his worst years in his career. So statistically, so if you want to root for something, root for the fact that he's coming off one of the worst years in his career. I don't know what to tell you. And also too, that whole report that came out that Kyle Tucker's more glued to his phone than anything else, and he really doesn't care. Do you want a player like that? Well, the Dodgers do. So what's it matter? That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
What's it matter?
You know, what's it matter if the Dodgers want to pay him $60 million a year? Or if you want to sit here and complain, oh my God, Kyle Tucker's making $60 million a year. There's no way I want the Rays to do that. Well, then don't fucking complain when the Dodgers do it. Sorry.
Not your money.
It's not your money. It's not anybody's.
Even my money, and I'm a Dodger fan.
That's what I'm saying. So that's kind of the bow on everything. Good for Kyle Tucker. He got paid. He got fucking paid, dude. And good for the Dodgers. They're building more of a winning culture out there and creating more insurance, and they're deepening their roster. So that's what you're supposed to do in baseball. So that's what they're doing. Good for them.
Absolutely. I had one thing that I was going to say, and it slipped my mind, so we'll just move on. But immediately, the next morning, I was on a drive. Bichette, welcome to Queens, signs with, signed. I completely forgot. I was like, wait. I was like, he went to the Mets, right? But signed a 3-year, $126 million contract with the New York Mets. All we had heard the entire last week, and even the report came out from Nightingale that morning, that the Phillies were right at the doorstep.
Yep.
And it was like, it's like he's going to be a Philly. It's just a matter of getting all the logistics and probably a physical done and everything. And then all of a sudden, you get the tweet that he's a Met. To me, this was a panic move. And I can tell you right now, the signing of Bichette was not a David Stearns decision. That was a Steve Cohen decision 110%. You want to know why I know that? Because all I heard all offseason from David Stearns, the Mets GM, if not president of baseball operations, all I heard all offseason from David Stearns, run prevention. That's why he traded guys away, traded guys away like Jeff McNeil, traded some fan favorites away, let Pete Alonso walk in free agency. Run prevention. He's going to play third base, a position that he has never played before in his career in Major League Baseball. Run prevention, my ass. To me, this was 100% a Steve Cohen decision. He probably got frustrated that Kyle Tucker was not a Met, and he probably told David Stearns, get the hell out of the way with this one. I'm going to sign Bichette whether you like it or not. You figure it out after that. I really thought he was going to be a Philly. We'll touch upon it probably in this too. What a disastrous offseason for the Philadelphia Phillies. Let me rephrase that. Not disaster, but all we heard during the off season when this started from from not David Stearns, from Dave Dombrowski, another Dave. Um, hey, we're not running it back. Isn't that what the Phillies did? They're basically
pretty
running
much.
it back, right? They re-signed
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber, um, missed out on Bo Bichette, so they immediately pivoted and made, oh, let's please our fans. Maybe this will help. We'll re-sign. We'll overpay JT Realmuto, give him a 3-year, $45 million contract. But um, I thought he was going to be a Philly. I think it's a huge disappointment for the Phillies, and this was a panic move by Steve Cohen getting Bo Bichette. And believe me, it's not a bad signing. Well, it could be, but I don't give me this run prevention crap, and then you're gonna go out and sign Bo Bichette. But for the Mets, it makes their lineup a little bit better. Finally, get a little bit of protection for Juan Soto. I know you have Lindor, Soto, and Bichette now, but Mets making one of the big splashes, and all it took was the Dodgers to just steal Kyle Tucker away from the Mets for the Mets to completely go rogue and make a panic move and sign Bo Bichette.
Yeah, absolutely. Going on that tweet that you had referenced earlier, this is strictly from Bob Nightingale of USA
Boob.
Today. Yes, Boob Nightingale. Again, sorry for almost hitting you with the porta potty door up in Cooperstown. But anyway, um, the Phillies had agreed to Bo Bichette's request of a 7-year, $200 million deal last night and believed they would sign him up until the Mets swooped in their 3-year, $126 million offer after losing out on Kyle Tucker. Um, I'll start with I'll start with agreeing you on the fact that this was a panic move, for sure. However, I agree with you a step further and say I like this deal. I do.
Yeah,
I think Bo Bichette makes sense in New York. However, like you said, that whole run prevention thing doesn't make any sense with this move because you're playing him at third base. I believe from a post that I saw, I think he's played one MLB game at third base. I think that's what it was. And on top of that, you're playing Jorge Polanco at first base. You got guys all out of position on your roster here, and it's a little weird there. And not to mention, you want to talk about run prevention. You have Juan Soto, who even when he was with the Yankees, I'm not saying it's just with the Mets. And I made it known when he was on the Yankees, he is not a good defender in right field. He's not. I've seen it plenty of times when he was with the year that he was with the Yankees. Um,
I saw it at Dodger Stadium during the World Series in '24. I saw it like
exactly.
firsthand.
Yeah. So you don't like what you're saying and what you're doing just doesn't make any sense. But when I'm looking at Bo Bichette on the Mets, it makes total sense, right? You're getting a guy in there to kind of make up for the production that you number one lost, and number two, dare I say, make your team better. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I think right now, I think the Mets are better than where they were at the beginning of the offseason. If I'm being honest,
Yep.
I think this team has come a far way in this offseason. Now, I don't know how it's going to go with playing Bo Bichette at third or playing Jorge Polanco at first base, but I will say I like I like what the Mets have done. I am giving them their props. They have, yeah, they missed out on Kyle Tucker, but they went out and got the second best free agent left on the market. Well, after Kyle Tucker, obviously. Um, I like this move a lot. I really do. And the good thing about this deal, in my opinion, I don't see how it's a bad deal. I don't see how this deal is ever going to age bad because you're only paying him 126 million for 3 years. That's a short-term deal with a high AAV and you're on the books for 3 years. That's all you're on the books for. And if you really want to, if you really want to get crazy, trade him. Trade him at some point. You have nothing left to lose. I don't see Bo Bichette signing with the Mets after this deal because this pairing just doesn't make sense to me. But it also does. I don't see this pairing lasting long term. unless Bo Bichette falls in love with Queens, which hey, he might. You never know. But I think it's a really good deal for the Mets. Steve Cohen, he was like, "Fuck this, get out of my way, David Stearns. I'm making this deal, and
Nerd.
I'm sure I'm going to turn this offseason around." And I have to give props to Steve Cohen for that because he's acting like a winning owner, just like the Dodgers are. So for the fact that he has the balls to go out there and give Bo Bichette a contract and stealing him away from a division rival like that, oh yeah, big props to Steve Cohen and the rest of his front office because that's a ballsy move, and I love the move because it actually works out pretty good for both sides in my opinion. Um, touching quick second on the Phillies, yeah, what a off season that was. From the reports, the Phillies were fucking livid. They were pissed at the fact that this happened, and I think what makes it even worse was it was to the Mets, man, to your
Yeah, a
hated
division
rival.
rival.
That dude, that's terrible, and Bo Bichette was supposed to be the big fish, right? And then Steve Cohen was like, I don't think so. And he swooped in and got his guy. And again, it goes back to what I was saying about the Dodgers. If the Phillies wanted him that bad, pay him more. Give him a higher AAV. That's what the Mets did.
Or
That's
how
what
about don't let him leave the meeting without putting pen to paper? Like I don't understand
hey,
because that was a report that came out Thursday night. Like it was basically a done deal, and
mhm.
then you know it got late, I guess, and then Friday came, and then all of a sudden he signs with the Mets. I'm like, if you're that close to getting a deal done, I don't understand why Bo Bichette. Why do you let him leave? Like keep him there until he signs the damn contract. Why give
Hey,
these teams another like opportunity to match it or make a better offer?
not everybody can be John Mara and Steve Tisch.
Oh
All right.
Jesus.
All right. But no, you're 100% right, man. Like if you want a guy like that, if you and Bo Bichette, he's no I mean, he's no just average player. This guy is a borderline superstar in today's league. Um, if you want a guy like that on your team, you're going to have to pay top market price and you're going to have to bring out all the stops. And it's very clear that that's what the Mets did. And yeah, maybe a little bit of panic because of Kyle Tucker, but at the same time, anybody can do it. You don't let him leave. I'm sorry, you just you don't. And the Phillies let him get away, and now they're running it back. And on top of this, I would even say they're in a worse spot because of the comments that were made about Bryce Harper.
Yep.
Listen, you cannot have your best player on your team being called not elite and saying he's past his prime and all this other shit. Bryce Harper's still got a lot left in the tank, and since he's made the move to first base, he's taken that a whole lot better than I thought he would. Um, so for the Phillies, I would even say they're in a worse spot than what they were last year. They're running it back, and now you have your superstar, generational player who's the face of your franchise disgruntled at your president of operations. Sorry,
And
that's
their
not. That's not
and their starting pitching got worse too.
yeah, you lost Ranger. I it's tough, but there's still a little bit of time left on the free agency clock, and Kyle Tucker's still out there. I'm sorry, Cody Bellinger is still out there. So he's also a possibility for some of these clubs. I know the Yankees are standing still where they're at. So here's a prime opportunity for the Phillies to swoop in and give them a little bit more, maybe a bigger AAV, maybe another year, whatever that looks like. But no, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this offseason plays out for I think both the Mets and the Phillies, if I'm being honest, because I don't see Bo Bichette being the final piece for Steve Cohen and the Mets. Um,
Framber Valdez.
I could see it. I really could. And also the Phillies, I feel like they have to have a fire under their ass right now with this whole Bo Bichette thing. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But congrats to Bo Bichette. He got paid, man. And Steve Cohen, you went in and you got your guy. So props to you.
Here's the Phillies lineup according to Fangraphs as of today. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Alec Bohm, Brandon Marsh, Adolis Garcia, Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto, Justin Crawford. Is that not running it back to you? what I heard from the beginning of the offseason, Dave Dombrowski, we're not running it back.
You
Sounds
pretty
like
much
it to
are.
me. That's crazy. And your rotation is Christopher Sanchez, who threw over 200 innings last season, and you probably got to be careful with him. You don't want to get him hurt or anything. Jesus Luzardo is your 2. Aaron Nola is your 3, which we know how that was last year. Taiwan Walker is now slotted in, and they have Andrew Painter listed as their 5th starter. With, of course, Zach Wheeler's still hurt, and he's not going to be ready to go until like May or June. But are the Phillies still the best team in this division?
I don't think so, personally. Not with the Mets kind of doing their thing right now, and don't forget the Atlanta Braves. The I mean, they were obviously hurt last year. They're coming back from injuries, a whole boatload of them. I'm still big on this Atlanta Braves team. They still have the core there. They
Does it
still have
make them a
guys
World
there.
Series again this year?
I don't know about that, but I will say I do think they're going to be much better than what they were last year. Um, no, I don't think the Phillies are the clear cut favorites in this division anymore. Um, we'll see where it goes. I'm not taking them out at 2. But I don't know if they're 1 anymore personally.
Yeah, I still think the Phillies are the best team in that division, but I'll say this: the door's open. The door is definitely
Mhm.
open now. If the Mets, if they can get another starter, or if this Braves team bounces back like we think they are in 2026, the door's open. The door
Yeah.
is definitely open. But um, yeah, there you go. We said it last week. Of course, both of these guys. Of course, we said watch as soon as we get off this podcast. Watch, these guys are gonna sign, and sure enough, they both signed. Tucker signed Thursday night, and then Bichette signed Friday morning, and then we had to wait the whole week just to get here. But um, just some other news and notes, and then we'll call it a night. Um, Clayton Kershaw, WBC baby, his final curtain call with Team USA. Um, I saw the news. I think it was Wednesday. No, it was actually that Thursday morning because I remember making a video for it. I love it. I love it, man. He was supposed to be with the Team USA team in 2023, but because um, they couldn't come with an insurance policy, because remember the Dodgers at the time still wanted him and wanted him healthy for the season. They couldn't come up with insurance for a potential injury or something like that. So he couldn't play. But I'm glad that he's on the team. It doesn't sound like he's gonna be really in any of the games, but I'm sure in the group stage, if Team USA is like blowing out like Brazil or whatever on any of these other countries, I'm sure Clayton Kershaw will get maybe an inning. But I think Kershaw's just there for the vibes, man. He's just there to have fun, which I want to give props to Clayton Kershaw because he's very self-aware of himself and where he is in his career. He can easily be selfish and be like, no, like if I'm gonna join Team USA, like I want to pitch, I want to start one of these games. You know who I am. 3 Cy Young Award. I've won 3 World Series. MVP. Like I want to pitch and have a meaningful spot on this team. Otherwise, I don't want to join. Clayton Kershaw's very self-aware that he's not the same guy he was 10 years ago. So I give him props for realizing that, but it just seems that he's going to be on the team for the vibes, and I hope that Kershaw gets in one of the games when we're in Houston, because I might be crying all over again, damn it. I might be crying all over again. But I'll tell you one thing: that Team USA Clayton Kershaw jersey, if I can find it, it's speaking to me. It's speaking to me. But
Understandable. I get it.
so happy for him, and I I I guess it's coming full circle. His final performance might be in Houston, which we all know how that ended in 2017. But um, who knows? Maybe he'll right the wrong with Team USA. And I like because they asked him, "What if you face Shohei Ohtani against Japan in the championship?" And I like Kershaw's response. He said something would have to go terribly wrong with the rest of the pitching staff if I'm in that situation against Shohei Ohtani in the championship game. Again, very self aware. I'm glad he realizes that. But salute my friend. I'm happy he's joining Team USA.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Now
I think
now
it's
Aaron
just
now Aaron Judge can know what it feels like to be around winners and champions. He's gonna take
oh,
so hopefully Paul Skeens and Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper, they're gonna listen up anytime Clayton Kershaw is walking around that clubhouse, because when the king and the goat speaks, you listen. God damn
you know, maybe there does need to be a salary cap. No, I'm kidding.
it.
No, I this is such like it's definitely one of those Cinderella stories, right? It's definitely a feel good move. I don't see him getting big innings. Obviously, he even said it himself. But it's going to be cool to see one last suited up Clayton Kershaw playing baseball. So I think this is such like a cool way to go out too, right? He gets to play for his country. He gets to play in the WBC. It's definitely going to be it's going to be so cool to see him there in the bullpen and just with the other guys and things like that. So I think overall, it's one of those Cinderella stories that's just puts a bow on a phenomenal career. So props to him. Um, I will say, just to kind of round out the rest of the news from the week, there was not much. Ha-Sung Kim
Yep.
sustained a hand injury. He's expected to be out for 4 to 5 months. The Braves then answered that to signing Jorge Mateo, literally one day after the news was announced with Ha-Sung Kim. Um, Ellie De La Cruz, he was offered a contract last spring by the Cincinnati Reds that would have surpassed Joey Votto's club record of a 10-year, $225 million contract. And he turned it down. So we'll see where that goes
Hey, I
once
give
he
the Reds credit for offering a big contract like that. I'll give them credit for that.
absolutely. And Ryan Presley, he retired. Spent his year with the Twins, or his career with the Twins, Astros, and Cubs.
And Jazz Chisholm playing for
Yeah,
Great Britain.
yeah. I mean that's no shock. Obviously, reports came out about that. Rumblings were happening, things like that. So it'll be cool to see him. Playing in the WBC, and we'll see where it goes.
I think that's gonna do it for episode 163. We covered a lot of stuff.
We did. We definitely did.
All right. Well, we'll see. Hopefully next week, Bellinger will be signed, and knowing us, he'll probably sign tonight, and then we'll have to come back here a week from now and talk about it. But um, next week we will touch upon the Hall of Fame announcement, because I believe that is getting announced tomorrow night. So um, look forward to that. Good luck to everybody that is involved. I think Andrew Jones is going to get it, and unfortunately, I think Carlos Beltran is going to get inducted this year. And if we get credentials, I might give him a look when we're at the center in July, and I might, when they're reading his plaque, I might just get up and walk to the bathroom. Honestly, I might just leave because I don't want to hear that crap.
Understandable. I get it.
All right, well, that's it. We'll see you next week. Adios.